This video is a presentation on the history of mullets. My name is Devin Dwyer and I'm a hairstylist. Recently, Maria Moto, one of the stylists from our hairstyling department, has gotten one of these new modern mullets that are very trendy right now. Don't worry, I did get her consent to put her in this video. Mullets nowadays are typically very bright and avant-garde. A lot of hairstylists actually don't know how to cut mullets that people want now. Mullets are only fairly recently coming back into style, and the way mullets have been taught to cut in the past are not the same as people want them done now. Mullets are taught to be cut where it's very connected from the short pieces in the front to the long pieces in the back, whereas mullets usually all look very different when seen now. Some have shaved portions, some have bangs, some don't have bangs, some have long pieces in the front, and any kind of disconnected look is what we're going for. If you have a client in your salon looking to get a modern mullet, make sure you have a good consultation to determine exactly what they're looking for. Because mullets come in so many different forms, we need to be extremely careful as stylists giving these cuts. The main thing you want to determine is if they want a modern look or an old school look. This question should be the base of your mullet consultation, followed by a variety of questions. If you have a client with longer hair, you should ask if they've ever had short hair before so you can determine how the hair is going to want to dry. Mullets can be tricky for people that have cowlicks or whorls. As you can see in this photo, not a lot of hair is cooperative with every kind of cut or style. This is why the consultation is one of your most important and most helpful skills. Mullets first took off in the 70s with David Bowie's glam rock era. Both David Bowie and this hairstyle marked the new trend of a gender non-conforming look. The mullet is considered a gender-neutral hairstyle worn by both men and women. David Bowie's outfits also highly reflect this trend. David Bowie had a big impact on the world, but more specifically the LGBT community. Just 3 years before David Bowie's revolutionary fashion statement, homosexuality was still illegal in the UK. He's well known and loved nowadays, but back then wearing women's clothing and cutting your hair in a way that was thought to have never been done before must have been a huge risk that he decided to take. Even now, there's a lot of danger in gender bending when out in the public eye. This trendsetter must have overcome a lot in order to become the well-known and loved artist that he was and still is. Fun fact. In 1992, Billy Ray Cyrus had a mullet, which was the start of the era of country stars and mullets. Country artists are one of the few groups of people where the mullet never really went out of style. Even now, mullets on country artists have that more old-school vibe rather than the new, crazy, colorful, modern look. Dolly Parton also helped to set this trend, more for the women than anything else. Not many famous women to this day have mullets, but Dolly had a mullet for a good part of her career. I hope in the future we continue to see the old-school mullets through country artists and an increase of women rocking the new trendy look in the celebrity world. Mullets were originally used for a very practical use. In ancient times, mullets were worn or cut for the purpose of keeping hair out of their face while also keeping their necks warm. Various cultures incorporated this practical haircut. As you can see, many Greek statues are proof of this style being a part of their culture. Chariot racers in ancient Greece would race on carriages pulled by horses in stadiums full of people, and the main hairstyle worn by these racers that performed in the Olympics were mullets. I'm not entirely sure what mullets were called back then, but I've seen ancient art pieces on walls and pottery that show this sport along with this style. Other cultures, such as Assyrians and Egypts, also had their hair this way for the practical reasons I mentioned before. In native cultures, hairstyles strongly resembled their tribes. How they presented themselves was mostly a show of pride for their people and where they came from. So it's interesting that when we see photos of native tribes, we see a variety of hairstyles as well as a variety of mullets associated with different groups of people. Again, it's a very practical hairstyle, and back then, fashion was of little importance, considering all the other things that were going on during that point in history. In 1944, mullets were referred to as the Kentucky Waterfall. The mullet had many other nicknames, including the Ape Drape, Mississippi Mudflap, Missouri Compromise, Camaro Cut, Squirrel Pleat, and now very commonly known as hockey hair. Everyone listening to this has definitely seen the hockey haircut in action. There's no proof of this, but I personally believe that the reason mullets are currently coming back into style is because of all these young hockey players growing their hair out in a mullet-esque way. Canadians love hockey, and I love mullets, so people that watch hockey, especially young people, are going to be influenced by these trends and jump on the bandwagon of the hockey player haircut, aka the mullet. I think and hope that the younger generation grows up seeing mullets in a more positive light than it's been shown in the past few years, and that we can keep doing these amazing and crazy hairstyles that I love so much. Currently, mullets are typically either loved or hated. Since it's not a typical look that a lot of people have, people are scared to get them or generally dislike them. If you're pursuing a career in hairstyling, I highly recommend that you learn this cut and have a thorough consultation with any client that's looking to get a mullet. Hopefully all this information gave you a better understanding of mullets and led you to have more respect for the people wearing a look with all this unknown history behind it. Thank you for listening to my presentation on mullets. I hope you learned something, and if not, I hope you learned to like mullets a little bit more than you did before. Most of the modern mullets that you see in this video are from Elevate Color's Instagram page. If you want to see more from them or more of these new modern mullets, please check out their account at Elevate Hair or Elevate Color.